Doesn't this hurt her? The father wanted to know. Nothing. Do you want to join the conversation? The girl was enthusiastic, but Sumarokov, he was too tired to attempt any evocation. I'm worried about Christian. Wouldn't it be better to try to get some sleep tomorrow? Before dawn we go after him. At that very moment, Mayra, who was sleeping, sat up in bed and then stood up. Her eyes were open, red and wide, and she looked nothing like a good girl. Was in a mediumistic trance, through natural somnambulism. Seeing her like this, already accustomed to. Phenomenon! The two were attentive. Mayra stood in front of her father, completely unconscious, and said, Christian didn't reach the camp. He took a shortcut. He fears the night and finds himself well hidden in an abandoned cabin. Do not fear. No danger threatens him. Soon you will be able to leave your hiding place, and, freed, you will return home. How can you say it with such certainty? Yulian asked, clearly realizing that he was speaking to a spiritual entity and not with your little daughter. I was there and came to calm you down. Is this cabin you're referring to far from here? Not much. You know her. Okay, there are many abandoned cabins. I'll look for them. Thank you for your interest. But who are you? Tell me your name. My name is Sasha. Before the pal could say anything else, he only had time to support the young woman who fainted in Katienka's arms. The two, apprehensive, immediately put her to bed, white and cold as marble. The couple looked at each other in astonishment, saying nothing in the presence of the sleeping girl. They both returned to the kitchen and commented in admiration. Fantastic, Katienka. Since when has this been happening? Since the day you left. Is it always the same spirit? I mean Sasha, daughter of Norobod, who communicates. Lately, she's been coming all the time. Let's wait for dawn. I'll go look for Christian. I believe he's in a place that I know and where he will come out unharmed. Before the first light of dawn, Yulian and some men mounted their horses and they went into the woods, looking for Christian. Not finding him, they decided to head to the camp where they left Sergei tied up, and when they were close to the place, they heard a herd of animals coming towards him. It was Yago, Kostya, and two men who had lost and unable to find a camp. They spent the night in the forest. They took a break when saw Sumarokov freed. They looked tired from a cold, sleepless night. Yago wore the customary red scarf, but Yulian soon guessed it was his boss, Comrade Sumarokov. He shouted. Stop right there, replied the mujik. Did they let you go? Asked Alex, who wasn't sure what had happened. Yes, comrades, we were released by Karosky, said Sumarokov. Great. And what are they doing? Didn't they come home? Asked the boss. Yes, but the others continue to watch the prisoners. At the camp? Take us to them. Fie! We were going back there to bring the prisoners, but first, this morning we tried to find my Kreslin, who disappeared. Are you kidding? He disappeared. Alex asked. Yes, they noticed his absence last night. Now we're going to camp. I'm afraid that Sergei manages to escape. I need to make sure. Then we'll come back looking for him. He must be hidden in some cabin near here. What makes you think the boy is hiding? It was difficult to explain the ghost's direction to him there. Everyone would think he was crazy. He simply, to say, in pure intuition. Alex laughed and exclaimed, Let's go, comrades, to meet the enemy. At the camp, the few men who were there were terrified because some had fled to the city and others returned to the farm, to their homes. They found Sergei and Karine, who didn't know how to explain herself to her boss. Arrest them, Alex ordered, filled with rage. His blood boiled in his veins. He wanted to kill that disgusting individual, but he restrained himself. The overseer and the others were violently tied to the same post that had previously served as torture for the poor peasants, and now they were the ones who would be held accountable. Where's Kreslin? Sumarokov asked him anxiously. Insolently, Sergei answered him. Look for him. Unable to bear the insolence, Sumarokov threw himself at his neck. What have you done to my son, you worm? Sergei spat on the ground, without answering the question, increasing his agony. The overseer played his last card. Let us go, or you will never get your son back. Sumarokov's legs buckled. His anger, however, kept him steady. Between believing in spirit and in the wickedness of that man, he preferred to face him. What have you done to my son? You poor devil. Can't you see there's no escape? Try touching a strand of my hair, and you'll never know where it is. Sumarokov looked at Yago for help. They both walked away, and Kostya followed them, saying, "Comrades, given the impasse, let me take care of the infamous one and the others while they're looking for the boy. I have a score to settle with him. I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time." Kostya was exalted by his own need to torture the man he voted for with trembling hatred. "Then you'll be done, comrade. He is all yours," said Yago, and turning to Sumarokov, "Let's look for the young man." They began searching the surrounding area and every corner within a 2-kilometer radius. 38 Kostya and Yago. Kostya was wearing the red scarf, the symbol of revolt, and Sergei had not recognized him. But Kostya acted as if he had known him for a long time. That stranger who now appeared interfering in the arrangement of accounts intrigued him, and his presence caused him great discomfort. "We have an old score to settle," I exclaimed. Kostya, getting closer to the prisoner. "I don't know you, and I don't even know what you're talking about. But I know you, you filthy worm," Kostya said threateningly in the face of the insolence of the condemned. Sergei searched his memory for the memory of that man. However, countless people had already passed through his hands. A vague reminiscence of that voice began to emerge in his mind. "No, it can't be that peasant burned to death." "Fire," Kostya said menacingly, bringing a flaming torch close to his face. The overseer turned his face away. Kostya cynically tortured him by passing her from one corner to the other, almost burning his nose. "Fire, fire," he repeated, intimidating him. "This will refresh your memory. Your world of crime. It's finally over, Sergei. You'll never again claim victims. You'll never again have the power to separate those who love each other, because you do not know what it is to suffer. Death for you is balm, even if it plunge you forever into hell." The others who were watching the scene did not understand the reason for such great hatred. They were about to interfere, although many had been victims of the evils practiced by Sergei, and now it was. The time for revenge had come. Kosla's attitude surprised them. They had never seen such hatred stamped on a man's face. Kosla's torture continued for a few more moments. The men returned without having found anything, and, after a thorough search, no sign of the son of Sumarokov. Sergei smiled triumphantly. He still had a trump card in his hand. Corinne, who was watching the scene, analyzed her situation and that of that brutal and inconsiderate man, scruples to whom she had given herself body and soul, believing that her Machiavellian plan could give. Right. He watched, with bitterness and contempt, his dream of wealth and power crumble. He found himself. Semmelberta, since attention was focused on Sergei, the author of that situation, the only one who should be condemned. The poor, illiterate moujiks, deluded and deceived, were indifferent to them. Both. Did the end of that scoundrel, since destiny reserved only work for them. At the moment, they only wanted a good boss. Sumarokov turned to the prisoners. "Freedom to whoever tells me where my son is." There was general silence. No one knew where the young man was. "We didn't see him, sir," a moujik replied timidly. Dmitri, who remained in a corner observing the entire scene and its drama, reasoned coldly and then intervened with his circumspect manner and piercing hypnotist eyes. "I have an idea." Everyone turned to the wizard. "Let's go back to the farm and put everyone on trial. Maybe Kryzhuin is already there, safe and sound." "My son is here," Yulian said confidently. "How can you say that, Sumarokov?" Dmitri Neighbor asked him. "The reason is personal. Don't ask me to explain it to you now. My son is in this situation. Camp, perhaps hidden in a cabin nearby," insisted the father. "Well, in that case, let's continue the search." And turning to Sumarokov, "How do you say with so much security? Aren't you missing the chance to find him somewhere else?" Then, lowering the tone of voice, Dmitri took him by the arm and moved away a few meters. Tell me, Sumarokov, your attitude amazes me. How are you so sure? Was it Mayra and her fortune-telling? Yes. Couldn't she have made a mistake? Asked neighbor. It wasn't she who told me, but Sasha's ghost. Sasha! Exclaimed neighbor. At this name, an electric current sparked in the air, and everyone saw, frightened, the ghost. The ghost's appearance terrified the superstitious peasants. What was that ghost doing? There? Did he come to scare them? The superstitious peasants retreated in fear, fleeing into the woods. No one managed to hold them. It's a ghost. Those who remained terrified crossed themselves, making the sign of the cross and praying aloud. Panic took over. A count of freedmen and prisoners. The unexpected event disrupted the actions of some and impeded their reasoning. After the first impact, those who were more lucid and accustomed to the phenomenon began to acquire, once again in control of the situation. In the meantime, taking advantage of the confusion, Corinne escaped from the looks and hid in fear. Fear not. This ghost will not harm anyone, said Sumarokov. We know whose. It is treated and it is harmless. But Kostya was completely beside himself. A great affliction took hold of him, inexplicable pain. Disturbed him momentarily, as if he had been electrified. He closed his eyes, dizzy and goosebumps. He had never felt anything like it in his entire life. What was going on there after all? They all seemed to be united in the same drama. Neighbor regained control of the situation, and before the worst could happen, he spoke calmly. Let us return to the search, as Sumarokov claims. Christian must be in hiding, and before completed his thought, Kostya reacted vigorously. If you don't tell us where the boy is within 10 minutes, we'll set him on fire, he threatened. Kostya, recovering from that inexplicable torpor. Kostya insisted threateningly, counting from 1 to 10 backwards. 10, 9, 8. He looked at everyone one by one. Nobody moved. Let's go, he said, holding the incandescent torch. 7, 6, 5. Everyone's eyes shone like a torch. He won't do it. Alex didn't want to intervene in the warrior's decision at the risk of taking away his authority, but jumped in front. Wait, comrade, I have an idea. Everyone's attention turned to Alex Norobod. Listen to me, children of Mother Russia. The mujik who wishes to redeem himself with the owner of the land will have time for that. Just get up and go to this place, said Alex, pointing to his right. I assure everyone that, in the name of our alliance, of our renewal movement, no one will leave here losing, but whoever doesn't want to redeem himself will receive the same punishment Sergei deserves. Recognizing their master's voice, the astonished mujiks got up and walked on. To the opposite side, silent but aware. Sergei looked around. No one had remained. By his side, not even Corinne, who he considered his faithful companion. And then, Comrade Kostya. Alex argued triumphantly. There is no need to damage. More, I believe the problem is solved. Let's do justice to the rebel. Relieved by the impasse of the moment and the decision taken in a less drastic way, Kostya looked at the overseer with a threatening air and asked, Leave him alone with me for a moment. I have an old score to settle. Stand back. I beg you. Kostya still had the torch in his hand, his whole body burning with the desire to throw himself on that man. Filthy worm. Set him on fire. No one dared interrupt him. He must have had his reasons. They all walked away. You don't remember me, you filthy worm. But I never forgot you, and I will refresh your memory. He came closer, threatening. Sergei, no matter how much he used his memory, could not remember him, because his face was covered with a handkerchief, and it was impossible for him, at that moment, to recognize one of his victims. So many wickednesses were lost in his memory as a murderer. He was just one among so many deaths he had committed throughout his life. The overseer remained silent, trying to recognize him, and his silence made Kostya even more irritated. Don't you remember? I'll jog your memory, he said, lowering his voice and uncovering his face. Look now. His eyes were two great torches vibrating with hatred and dull revolt. Sergei, frightened, looked at him, straining his memory. He really didn't seem strange to her, but why couldn't she remember the details? Those eyes, Where exactly had I seen them? I was a helpless boy in your hands, you scoundrel. Do you think I died? However, Sergel still found it difficult to identify him, but his memory pointed to a distant scene which he refused to believe. He stammered in astonishment. Are you by any chance a young man who— No, it can't be. He burned to death. He turned to ashes. I saw. With these eyes, your end, stammered the overseer, now remembering that voice and those eyes, because his bearded face was unrecognizable. He was a grown man, matured by time. See? Do you remember now what you did? Sergel thought he was facing a ghost, another ghost. Terrible fear anguished his soul. There was no one there who could help him in that situation, and he couldn't even run away. The only way was to face that man, ghost, alive or dead, who came to settle accounts. He replied, frightened and trembling, Didn't you die, Latimer Anton Borowski? Upon hearing his real name, Kostia smiled sarcastically. You thought I was dead. Wretch, I didn't die. I won't rest until I settle the score. With you, the cause of my unhappiness. Who, then, was burned alive? Asked the overseer, remembering the tragic scene in which he even set fire to that bloodied, unrecognizable man who was struggling, thrown at his feet. Feet! I managed to escape. Kostia shouted triumphantly. Your men, afraid of you and the worm. Norobod threatened and, seeing me escape, they caught a poor guy who had nothing to do with the story and disfigured him to be presented to the infamous in my place. Norobod wanted death and had to. Death. But I'm here to do justice. Everyone thought you were dead, even her. Sergei was referring to the young woman who, desperate, had witnessed the incineration of her beloved, and which some muzhik still remembered. Something unbelievable happened. As if the sky rebelled, a sudden malaise took over the entire. Those people, like a pestilent poison that is thrown into the air. And her, shouted someone terrified, whose mediumistic perception detected the ghost. At that reference, an incandescent spark passed between them so quickly that, for a moment, no one moved. Something supernatural and uncontrollable was happening. Yago, the first to react, approached to see what was happening. Sasha, shouted the overseer, hoarse and hallucinating, clearly seeing the ghost in front of him, and along with, from the image, he clearly saw the scene of his boyfriend's death, causing him to panic. You're alive. Sergei shouted, sensing his end. Don't kill me, he cried fearfully, begging Kostia for mercy. The executioner was transformed into a submissive professor. Hearing his sister's name, Alex joined them, running the risk of being recognized by the overseer and, for Kostia, but at that moment, nothing else mattered. What's going on, Kostia? Alex asked, feeling very strange, creepy and apprehensive. One day I will tell you, Comrade Yago, I have scores, many scores to settle with this worm, and I won't finish until I drink the last drop of this bitterness that invades me and burns me. Leave us alone, Yago, I beg you. Before Alex could intervene, a freezing wind passed between the two men, causing them to shiver. The spirit of Sasha was all too eager to abandon them. He made himself visible to the overseer, who, in a last effort, wanted to unravel the mystery surrounding her and the birth of her daughter. Seeing her, Sergei lost his mind and began to scream, eyes bulging, hands clenched, wanting. Defend yourself. The scene was pathetic. Take her away, for mercy's sake. I can't stand it, he shouted, gesturing. Who is he talking about? Asked Kostia, who didn't understand anything, because he couldn't see what was going on. Spirit. Yet he reveled in the overseer's despair, as if he were the overseer himself. Sasha, whatever it is, you will get what you deserve, bandit. And with a violent blow he wounded him, the face that was soon covered in blood. Neighbor approached, wanting to be helpful, but his hypnotic powers were not solving that case. His knowledge of spiritual life was primary. His ability as a magnetizer was not. Enough to release the suffering and needy spirit of Sasha, who was returning to settle his last hope since she wished, like Vladimir, to drink the last drop of that bitter cup of hatred and revolt. His spirit needed peace and would not rest until his family discovered his little daughter. I know, Yago said wistfully, referring to his sister's ghost. She's back. Who is she? Kostya asked uneasily, feeling himself full of bitterness, as if relived the last moments, which burned his soul like an eternal flame. My poor sister, Alex replied, forgetting his condition to pour out his pain. That invaded his being. Your sister? Now it was Kostya who didn't understand what was happening to Comrade Yago. He didn't know well the warrior he admired so much, and who now appeared before him in that sad state. Tears streamed down his face, and he didn't even hide them. What bitterness was that? Affected the warrior's soul? Everyone was moved and very anxious. That invisible energy involved and united them in the same tragedy. Alex Norobod is my real name. Kostya looked at him for a long time, because he had never met Sasha's brother personally, whom she admired and referred to with great joy. Surprise prevented him from reasoning, obeying, to the irresistible fraternal impulse, embraced him as if Sasha herself were affectionately asking them, Unite, are you Alex, the son of Norobod, brother of my unfortunate Sasha? The surprise was very great. Yago, his noble comrade, was Alex Norobod. His question hung in the air, because the silence was broken by a hallucinatory scream, which caused chills and great discomfort. Help, mercy. Get her out of here. I can't take it any more. The prisoner screamed, maddened, of remorse, struggling with the ghost. No, you do not deserve mercy for what you have done. You will not leave here, dead or alive, as long as you don't tell the whole truth. Where is my daughter? Asked Kostya, overcome with hatred. To this question, Sasha spoke up again. His spirit longed to clarify the misunderstanding. I don't know, Kostya replied. Meanwhile, the spirit stood between the two, visible only to Sergei. The overseer bent his legs and, hanging with his arms tied, said in a low voice, forgiveness, he begged the spirit. The evil man's face was disfigured, and his eyes could not focus on anything dancing. In his orbits, the ghosts of his crimes haunted him, demanding an account, and he, distraught, began to say nonsensical things, disturbing the whole group. Then he began to scream for mercy. Without knowing who he was addressing, the living or the dead, he could no longer bear the pressure on his brain, and its screams were lost in the frightening space, like the black birds that flew around there. If he had been free, he would certainly have gone into the woods or set himself on fire, body to ease his remorse. Somewhat flustered by the new fact, everyone remained attentive to each other's movements. Others, as if they were dealing with invisible forces, and no one dared utter a word. Kostya, coming out of that torpor, with his soul oppressed, he fought a huge battle within himself. He wanted, kill him in cold blood, defeat forever the one responsible for his misfortune, the only witness, alive from the loss of his offspring. Dominated by a superior will, he found the courage to say, I will do nothing, you filthy worm, not yet, until you tell me what has become of my daughter. Even if we both have to travel the world, you will never leave without first telling me. Say, Kostya is black, I shone as brightly as the flaming torches. The spirit of Sasha, still, so she did not rest. She seemed to act on her beloved, giving him the strength to continue, because she had come for the reckoning, and everyone should know the whereabouts of their little daughter. Her spirit inspired Kostya, who, without knowing it, had suddenly calmed down. He needed to buy time. Emotions were clouding his reasoning to the beneficial intervention. He asked, now more controlled, let's take the prisoners back to farm. There we'll settle the score. If we spill the bandit's blood, the truth will not be clarified. He owes me an answer. We will investigate the facts, and I will know how to refresh his memory. Yago, let us go. Do you agree, comrade? He asked him without resentment in his voice. Alex Norobod quickly agreed, wanting to get the painful issue over with. That will be better. Let's get out of this damn place. Sumarokov, who was participating in the scene, awaiting its outcome, decided to stay there and continue, looking for his son. Christian hasn't been found yet, the father said, worried. His soul was also oppressed.